Somewhere in your life, someone made you believe that talent was the golden ticket, that the gifted ones rise while the ordinary ones stay in the crowd. Maybe it was a teacher, maybe a parent, maybe just watching others move faster than you. And quietly, without anyone announcing it, you accepted a verdict about yourself. I'm just not one of the talented ones. That belief is not harmless. It is a cage. And tonight, I'm going to open the door. Most people don't fail because they lack talent. They fail because they believe talent matters more than structure. They worship natural gifts and ignore repeatable systems. They wait to feel special before they act. Billionaires do the opposite. They assume they are ordinary and build rules that make being ordinary irrelevant. Let me speak to you as a real human, not as a voice behind a screen. You have felt it. Watching people who were not smarter than you, not more skilled than you, not more deserving than you somehow move ahead. You wondered what secret they had. You blamed luck. You blamed timing. You blamed yourself. But the answer was quieter. They were following rules while you were chasing proof of talent. Here is the truth no one teaches in school. Talent is unstable. Some days you feel sharp. Some days you feel dull. Some days you feel confident. Some days you feel invisible. If success depends on talent, success becomes unpredictable. Billionaires hate unpredictability. So they build rules that function even when talent is absent. This video is not here to insult talent. It is here to dethrone it. Because as long as you believe talent decides your ceiling, you will never build beyond what you believe you are capable of. Stay with me. Because the first rule begins where most people unknowingly lose their future. The place where dreams quietly stall while life keeps moving forward. The first billionaire rule that beats talent is repeatable process. Ordinary people rely on bursts of brilliance. They work only when they feel sharp. They perform only when they feel inspired. And when inspiration fades, progress stops. Billionaires build processes that work on average days, tired days, distracted days. A process that survives bad moods will always beat talent that appears only on good moods. Sit with that for a moment. Think of how many times you waited to feel ready. How many times you postponed action until you felt confident. That waiting has cost more futures than failure ever did. The second rule is acting before confidence. Ordinary people wait for confidence to arrive. Billionaires act first and let confidence catch up. Confidence is not starting fuel. It is a byproduct of repetition. If you wait to feel ready, you stay waiting. If you act while unready, you become ready through motion. This is how ordinary people quietly transform into builders. Most people never cross this bridge. They stand at the edge of opportunity, waiting for permission from their own emotions. Billionaires do not ask permission. They move, then adjust. The third rule is preparation over performance. Ordinary people want to shine in public. Billionaires build in private. They prepare quietly. They design quietly. They practice quietly. When results finally appear, outsiders call it talent. But it was never talent. It was private repetition, private structure, private rules. Let that sink in. The world praises visible performance, but wealth is born in invisible preparation. The fourth rule is consistency over intensity. Ordinary people sprint when motivated and stop when tired. Billionaires walk steadily, not dramatic, not impressive, just consistent. Intensity burns energy. Consistency builds engines. But here is where most people sabotage themselves. They underestimate small actions because small actions don't feed ego. Billionaires understand ego is expensive. They choose progress over pride. They repeat small actions until identity changes. Stay with me. Because the next rule is where ordinary thinking quietly collapses. The fifth rule is environment control. Ordinary people fight their surroundings. They fight distraction. They fight comfort. They fight temptation. Every day becomes a battle against their own world. Billionaires do something quieter and far more powerful. They redesign the world around them so the right action becomes the easiest action. When the environment is shaped correctly, talent is no longer required. Progress happens by default. Think about your own space, your phone, your room. Your daily path. Does it pull you toward growth or pull you toward escape? Most people blame themselves for lacking discipline, when the real problem is living inside an environment engineered to steal attention. Billionaires refuse to live inside traps. They build spaces that lift them. This is where frustration begins to soften, because maybe you were never weak. Maybe you were simply surrounded by friction, while others were surrounded by flow. The sixth rule is hunger for feedback. Ordinary people avoid feedback because it bruises the ego. They interpret correction as insult. They hide from mirrors that show truth. Billionaires do the opposite. They chase feedback. They pay for it. They ask for it. They listen even when it stings, because feedback is faster than guessing. Feedback is cheaper than failure. Feedback is how direction sharpens. Most people would rather protect pride than protect progress. Billionaires choose progress every time. The seventh rule is asset thinking. Ordinary people think in tasks. Do this, finish that, get paid once, then repeat. Billionaires think in assets. Build something once, get paid many times. A book, a business, a system, a brand, an investment. Once asset thinking enters your mind, talent becomes background noise. Structure becomes the main engine. This is the point where many people feel a quiet shock, because they realize they have been spending years performing tasks instead of planting assets. They were busy, but not building, active, but not compounding. Let that realization settle gently. Up to now, you may feel something inside shifting. Not excitement, not hype, something calmer. A quiet recognition that maybe your life was never limited by ability, but by blueprint. Most people try to become talented enough. Billionaires build systems strong enough. One path depends on how you feel. The other path depends on what you design. And design always outlives emotion. But there is a deeper layer still ahead. Because the final rules are not about money or work. They are about identity. The invisible story you tell yourself about who you are. And until that story changes, no strategy will hold. Most people live under a silent identity. I am not gifted. I am not special. I am not chosen. And so they try to compensate with effort. But effort cannot permanently override identity. Identity always wins in the long run. Billionaires do something radical. They choose identity first. I am a builder. I am an owner. I am a designer of systems. Then they behave accordingly. Even before results appear, over time, behavior reshapes reality. Reality reinforces identity, and a new loop is born. This is why talent becomes irrelevant. Identity becomes the real driver. Many people fear choosing a new identity because it feels fake at first. But all identities begin as chosen stories. Even the story "I am not talented" was chosen. It was repeated. It became familiar. And familiarity masquerades as truth. Stay with me here, because this is where the quiet transformation begins. Imagine if, instead of trying to become talented, you simply became structured. Instead of chasing brilliance, you built repeatable processes. Instead of fighting your environment, you redesigned it. Instead of guessing, you sought feedback. Instead of performing tasks, you built assets. Instead of waiting for confidence, you acted before it. None of this requires talent, only choice. And that is the hidden freedom. Ordinary people feel trapped because they think success depends on gifts they don't have. Billionaires feel free because they know success depends on rules they can build. This is where confusion becomes clarity. You were never disqualified. You were never missing a secret gene. You were simply never shown the alternative path, and now you have seen it. But we are not finished yet. The most powerful part is still ahead. Because understanding these rules is not the end. The end is the moment you decide whether you will continue living by old beliefs or start writing your own rulebook. The next and final section brings everything together. The emotional resolution, the identity shift, the quiet but irreversible closing. Most people never question the story they inherited. They simply live inside it. I'm not talented. I'm not special. I have to work twice as hard to get half as far. They repeat it so often that it becomes reality. But stories are not facts. They are programs. And programs can be rewritten. Billionaires are not people who were born with better stories. They are people who decided to rewrite theirs. This is the moment where many people feel resistance. A quiet inner voice saying, "This sounds good, but my situation is different." That voice is not truth. It is familiarity defending itself. The brain prefers known pain over unknown possibility. Even when the known pain is failure. Even when the unknown possibility is freedom. Billionaires understand this trick of the mind. They don't wait for belief to arrive. They act while disbelief is still present. Over time, action carves new belief, not the other way around. That is why they do not need talent. They build identity through movement, not through wishing. Let's be honest. If talent were the deciding factor, the world would be filled with successful prodigies and empty of ordinary winners. But reality shows the opposite. The graveyard is full of talented people who never built structure. The skyline is built by ordinary people who installed rules. This is not theory. This is pattern. Talented people rely on mood. Structured people rely on design. Mood changes. Design remains, and whatever remains long enough always wins. That is the quiet advantage. Most people exhaust themselves trying to become better versions of themselves. Billionaires simply build better systems around themselves. One path consumes energy. The other multiplies it. And here is the beautiful part. You do not need permission to start. You do not need credentials. You do not need proof of talent. You only need the willingness to build one small rule into your life. One repeatable process, one environment shift, one feedback loop, one asset-focused action, one identity decision. Small, simple, quiet. This is where real change begins. Not with a dramatic promise, not with a burst of motivation, but with a quiet rule that continues when feelings fade. Most people will finish this video and feel inspired for a moment. Then life will call them back to old habits. A few will finish this video and install one rule today. That difference is invisible in the moment. But in 5 years, it is everything. This is why talent never decided your destiny. Structure did, and now you have seen the structure. In part 2, we go deeper into the final shift. The moment where you stop seeing yourself as someone chasing success and start seeing yourself as someone who designs it. And once that shift happens, nothing goes back to the old way again. You've seen the rules. You've felt the quiet shift. But now we arrive at the moment most people never reach, the moment where knowledge asks for a decision. Because understanding without action becomes another form of entertainment. And entertainment never built wealth. Only installation did. Most people collect ideas like souvenirs. They watch videos, they read books, they nod along, they feel temporarily enlightened. Then they return to familiar patterns because familiarity feels like safety. But safety built on stagnation is a slow collapse. Billionaires know this. They don't consume knowledge to feel smart. They consume knowledge to change defaults. This is where the story of talent truly ends. Because once you understand that talent was never the deciding factor, you stop waiting for permission. You stop waiting to feel gifted. You stop waiting to feel chosen. You realize that builders are not chosen, they choose. Ordinary people ask, do I have what it takes? Billionaires ask, what system will I build next? One question traps. The other liberates. You might feel something uncomfortable now, a quiet responsibility, because now you cannot unsee what you've seen. The excuse "I'm just not talented" no longer works. The door is open, and walking through it is your choice. This is where most people hesitate, because stepping into a new identity feels strange. Acting without full confidence feels unnatural. Building systems instead of chasing moods feels slow. But slow is not failure. Slow is stable. And stable always outlasts dramatic. Billionaires do not fear being slow. They fear being static. Most ordinary lives are not destroyed by big disasters. They are dissolved by small delays. A year waiting to feel ready. Another year waiting for confidence. Another year waiting for motivation. Suddenly, a decade is gone, and nothing has changed except regret. But builders do something simple. They act while imperfect. They build while uncertain. They move while ordinary. And motion over time becomes transformation. This is why talent never had power over your destiny. Because destiny was never decided by brilliance. It was decided by repetition. Repetition of habits. Repetition of rules. Repetition of small choices. Repetition of design. Once you grasp this, the world looks different. Successful people no longer look mysterious. They look structured. Failures no longer look tragic. They look misaligned. And your path no longer looks blocked. It looks unbuilt. And unbuilt things can be built. You don't need to copy billionaires. You don't need to imitate their lifestyle. You don't need to force their personality. You only need to adopt their architecture. The invisible framework that holds everything together. Repeatable process. Action before confidence. Private preparation. Consistency over intensity. Environment design. Feedback. Hunger. Asset thinking. Identity choice. None of these demand talent. All of them reward design. Let that truth settle softly. Now imagine your life 1 year from now if you install even one of these rules, not 10. One process that runs when you are tired. One environment change that protects your focus. One asset planted. One feedback loop added. One identity rewritten. One rule can redirect a future. This is the quiet power ordinary people overlook. They believe transformation must be dramatic. Billionaires know transformation is incremental, and that is why they win. Not because they were chosen, but because they chose to build. So as this video closes, don't ask yourself whether you are talented enough. Ask yourself something simpler, something more powerful. What rule will I install today? Not tomorrow. Not next week. Today. Small, quiet, unimpressive, yet unstoppable over time. This channel exists to give you the rulebook you were never taught. Calmly, clearly, without noise, without fantasy, without guilt, just structure. Just design. Just inevitability. Welcome to the builder's path. Billionaire Rulebook, rules that make wealth inevitable.